The quantum arrays aboard the UES Pathfinder hummed quietly as Dr. Sarah Chen adjusted the sensitivity parameters. For 6 years, she had been searching for signs of intelligent life among the stars, and for 6 years, she had heard nothing but cosmic background radiation and stellar noise. That changed on a quiet Tuesday morning in 2189. "Captain Kumar," she called out, her voice trembling slightly. "I'm picking up a signal. It's structured, definitely artificial." Captain Raj Kumar was at her station within seconds, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic display. The signal pulsed in regular intervals, a pattern too precise to be natural. "Can you decode it?" "Working on it," Sarah replied, her fingers dancing across the haptic interface. "It's using a mathematical sequence as a base. Universal language. Whoever sent this wanted to make sure anyone could understand it." Hours turned into days as the best minds aboard the Pathfinder worked to decode the message. When they finally succeeded, they wished they hadn't. The message was simple. Help. They are coming. Run. 24 hours later, the Pathfinder detected the first signs of what the message warned about. Massive objects dropping out of faster-than-light travel, their energy signatures unlike anything human sensors had encountered before. The objects resolved into ships, massive, organic-looking vessels that seemed to have been grown rather than built. "Get us out of here," Kumar ordered, but it was too late. The alien ships had already detected them. The first attack came without warning or demand for surrender. A beam of coherent energy sliced through the Pathfinder's defensive screens like they weren't there, cutting off the ship's port section. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut as atmosphere vented into space, along with the bodies of 37 crew members. "Return fire," Kumar commanded, but the Pathfinder's weapons seemed to barely scratch the alien vessel's hulls. Sarah watched in horror as more beams lanced out, systematically dismantling their ship. In the final moments before the Pathfinder's destruction, Sarah managed to send a burst transmission back to Earth through the quantum entanglement communicator. First contact achieved. Hostile. Advanced. No mercy. Prepare. The message reached Earth just as similar reports began flooding in from the outer colonies. The aliens, soon dubbed the Harvesters by the media, weren't just attacking random ships. They were systematically targeting human settlements, moving inward from the edges of human space. But what terrified humanity most wasn't the Harvesters' superior technology or their ruthless efficiency. It was what they did with their victims. The few surveillance feeds that made it back to Earth showed the aliens collecting humans, alive, and conducting horrific experiments. They weren't just conquering. They were studying their prey. On Earth, the UN Security Council convened an emergency session. For the first time in human history, all nations unanimously agreed on a course of action. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the Secretary General, addressed the world. "Today, we face an enemy that sees us not as equals to be negotiated with, but as specimens to be studied and destroyed. They believe us weak. They believe us prey. They are wrong. As of this moment, all of humanity is at war. Every resource, every mind, every hand will be turned to our defense and survival. We will show these creatures that humanity is not prey. We are predators who have forgotten our teeth. Today, we remember." Within hours, the greatest mobilization in human history began. Factories were converted to produce weapons and ships. Research facilities worldwide focused on developing countermeasures against Harvester technology. The International Space Fleet, once a peacekeeping force, was transformed into a war machine. But the Harvesters were getting closer. Colony after colony went dark. Millions died or disappeared into the organic hulls of the alien ships. Yet with each attack, humanity learned. Each encounter provided more data, more understanding of how the enemy fought and thought. Dr. Chen, one of the few survivors of the Pathfinder's destruction, found herself leading a team at the Unified Defense Research Division. Their mission: to understand and exploit any weakness in Harvester technology. As she worked, she couldn't help but think about the original distress signal that had started it all. Who had sent it? What had happened to them? The answers would come soon enough, but first, humanity had to survive. And as the harvesters approached the core worlds, humanity prepared to show these cosmic predators that they had made a terrible mistake. They had awakened something that had spent millennia climbing to the top of a food chain, something that had conquered its own world through cunning and determination. They had awakened humanity's primal nature, and the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral James Chen stared at the holographic display showing the wreckage of a harvester vessel floating in the Kuiper Belt. It had taken the combined firepower of 3 human battleships to bring down a single enemy craft, but they had finally done it. More importantly, they had done it without losing any of their own ships. "Play it again," he ordered, and the tactical simulation recreated the battle. The key had been in the timing. Synchronized plasma bursts that overloaded the harvester's regenerative hull. A discovery that had cost thousands of lives to make, but one that would save millions more. In the 6 months since first contact, humanity had transformed itself. The old rivalries between nations had melted away in the face of extinction. Every factory, every laboratory, every mind was focused on survival, and they were beginning to see results. Dr. Maya Patel's voice crackled through the quantum comm. "Admiral, you need to see this." Her team had been studying the captured harvester biotechnology. "We found something in their neural interfaces. These creatures, they're not just hunting us. They're afraid of us." The revelation came from decoded memory fragments in the alien ship's biological computers. The harvesters had encountered other species before, but humans were different. Where other races had accepted their fate or fought conventionally, humans adapted. They learned. They evolved their tactics with every encounter. In her lab at the Lunar Research Station, Maya displayed the results of her analysis. Their technology is biological, grown rather than built. It's impressive, but it's also their weakness. They can't change their fundamental designs quickly. They rely on evolution rather than innovation. And we don't. Admiral Chen finished the thought. Human technology might have been cruder, but it could be redesigned and rebuilt in weeks rather than generations. How quickly can we weaponize this knowledge? "We already have." Maya smiled, leading him to a sealed chamber. Inside, a new type of fighter craft waited, a hybrid of human engineering and reverse-engineered harvester biotechnology. Meet the Chimera class. Half machine, half living tissue. It can think and react faster than any human pilot, but it's controlled by human consciousness. The perfect fusion of our adaptability and their biological advantages. The first squadron of chimeras was deployed to defend Alpha Centauri when the harvesters attacked the colony. The aliens never knew what hit them. The hybrid fighters moved with organic fluidity, but struck with mechanical precision. For the first time, humanity didn't just survive an encounter, they dominated it. But the greatest breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Sarah Chen, still haunted by the original distress signal that had warned of the harvesters, made a connection. The mathematical patterns in that signal matched fragments found in the harvester's genetic memory. The warning had come from the predecessors, a species that had fought the harvesters millennia ago. "They seeded the galaxy with warnings," Sarah explained to the United Earth Defense Council. "And they left us more than just messages. Some of their technology is still out there, dormant, waiting for someone to find it and use it against the harvesters." The race began. Human exploration ships, now armed and armored, spread out across nearby star systems, searching for predecessor artifacts. The harvesters, sensing the shift in the war's dynamics, intensified their attacks. But each engagement showed their growing uncertainty. Their prey was becoming a predator. In orbit around a brown dwarf star, the UEA's Defiant made the first major discovery, a predecessor weapons facility, automated and preserved for eons. Captain Maria Santos and her crew worked tirelessly to understand the ancient technology. What they found changed everything. The predecessors didn't just fight the harvesters, she reported back to Earth. They nearly won, but they couldn't adapt fast enough when the harvesters evolved new defenses. We can. We have their weapons and our innovation. We can finish what they started. The integration of predecessor technology with human ingenuity produced results that surprised even the most optimistic scientists. Ships that could phase through harvester energy weapons, quantum torpedoes that could target the aliens' biological weak points across space-time, defense systems that learned and adapted in real time. As humanity's technological renaissance bloomed, the harvesters began to retreat from their hunting grounds. But Admiral Chen and the other military leaders knew better than to celebrate. This wasn't a retreat, it was a regrouping. The harvesters were returning to their core systems, preparing for a response to this unprecedented resistance. "Let them come," Maya said, standing beside her latest creation, a planetary defense system that combined all three technological lineages: human, harvester, and predecessor. "We'll be ready." The awakening of humanity's full potential had begun. The harvesters had intended to find prey, but instead they had created something new, a species that combined the best aspects of three civilizations, driven by the ultimate motivation: survival. And now, humanity was ready to take the fight to them. Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen watched as 500 ships of the United Earth Defense Force emerged from quantum space near the Harvester forward base in the Procyon system. The largest human fleet ever assembled moved in perfect formation, a testament to months of preparation and training. At its heart was the flagship Prometheus, carrying humanity's deadliest weapons and their greatest hope for victory. "All ships report ready," Admiral Commander Alexei Volkov announced from his tactical station. "Chimera squadrons are launching now." Sarah nodded, her expression grim. "Send the message to all ships. Operation Starfall is go. Remember Pathfinder." The battle began not with an exchange of fire, but with silence. The new quantum ghost generators, reverse-engineered from predecessor tech, made the entire human fleet virtually invisible to harvester biosensors. The aliens' first warning came when dozens of their sensor nodes mysteriously failed, systematically blinded by precise strikes from cloaked Chimera fighters. Inside her neural command pod aboard the Prometheus, Captain Maya Patel directed her squadron of hybrid fighters through the biological interface she had helped design. The marriage of human consciousness with harvester biotech gave her awareness of every fighter, as if they were extensions of her own body. "Ghost Squadron, begin Phase 2. The fighters split into three-dimensional attack formations that would have been impossible for human pilots to coordinate. They struck at the Harvester base's biological weak points, their weapons carrying engineered viruses that turned the aliens' own regenerative abilities against them. The Harvesters responded with characteristic ferocity, launching waves of their own bioships. But they were fighting blind, their attacks uncoordinated without their sensor network. For the first time, the aliens experienced what so many of their victims had felt: the terror of fighting an enemy they couldn't properly see or understand. "They're adapting," reported Dr. Elena Rodriguez from the science station. "Their bioships are beginning to emit new types of sensor pulses." "Just as we predicted," Sarah replied. "Execute Phase 3. The human fleet suddenly decloaked, but not where the Harvester's remaining sensors indicated. The aliens had been tracking phantom signals generated by quantum decoys. The real fleet emerged behind their lines, catching them in a devastating crossfire. The Prometheus led the charge, its hybrid hull glowing with accumulated energy. The ship was Sarah's masterpiece, a fusion of all three technological bases that humanity now commanded. Its weapons could phase through harvester shields, while its biological components could absorb and redirect enemy fire. "Multiple harvester capital ships detected," Alexei reported. "They're forming a defensive circle around something in the center of their formation. Energy readings are off the scale." Sarah's eyes narrowed. Intelligence had suggested the harvesters had a new weapon in development, but no one knew exactly what it was. "All ships, Execute pattern delta. Do not let them complete whatever they're charging up. The battle reached its crescendo as space itself seemed to warp and twist. The harvester weapon began to pulse, emitting waves of energy that made the biological components of human ships scream in agony. But humanity had learned from its predecessors' mistakes. Their technology wasn't purely biological or mechanical, but a resilient fusion of both. Now, Sarah commanded, and the Prometheus unleashed its main weapon, the quantum cascade. Based on predecessor designs, but enhanced by human innovation, the weapon created a localized temporal storm that ripped through the harvester fleet. Ships were torn apart as different sections of their biological hulls experienced time at different rates. The alien weapon, caught in the temporal distortion, imploded spectacularly. The remaining harvester ships, faced with an enemy that had mastered space, time, and biology, did something unprecedented. They retreated in disarray. As the dust settled, Sarah received damage reports from the fleet. They had lost ships and good people, but the victories far outweighed the losses. The harvester forward base was destroyed, their new superweapon was gone, and humanity had proven it could not just fight the aliens but defeat them decisively. "Send word to Earth," she ordered. "Operation Starfall successful. The Procyon system is secured." She paused, then added, "And tell them we found something in the harvester base. Something big." Deep within the captured facility, research teams were already studying the alien data cores. What they found would change the course of the war. Coordinates to the harvester homeworld. And something else. Evidence that the harvesters themselves were running from something even worse. As Sarah stared at the star map showing the location of the alien homeworld, she realized that Operation Starfall wasn't just humanity's first major victory. It was the beginning of something much larger. The galaxy was more complex and dangerous than anyone had imagined, and humanity was about to be thrust into the middle of conflicts that had raged for millions of years. But first, they had a war to win. And now, they knew exactly where to strike next. The UES Prometheus drifted silently through the debris field that was once a harvester manufacturing world. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the quantum observation deck, watching salvage teams collect samples of alien biotechnology. The strike had been precise, devastating, and most importantly, completely unexpected. Confirmation from all teams, Maya reported through the neural link. Pattern holds across all recent attacks. The harvesters are abandoning their outer territories faster than our models predicted. They're scared, Sarah. The past 3 months had transformed the war. After Operation Starfall, humanity had adapted harvester faster than light technology with their own innovations, creating ships that could strike anywhere without warning. The predators had become prey, never knowing where the next attack would come. Dr. Rodriguez's hologram materialized beside Sarah. "Admiral, we've decoded more of the data from their cores. You need to see this." Her expression was troubled. "The harvesters, they're not the apex predators we thought they were." The decoded memories revealed a shocking truth. The harvesters' aggression was driven by desperate survival. They weren't just hunting. They were gathering resources and specimens for something far more terrifying. In the vast darkness between galaxies, something was stirring, something that had driven the harvesters from their original home. "Show me," Sarah commanded. The holographic display transformed, showing astronomical data from beyond the galaxy's edge. Massive objects, each larger than a solar system, were moving. The harvesters called them the Devourers, entities that consumed entire galaxies, breaking down all matter and energy to sustain themselves. "This changes everything," Sarah muttered. "They're not just running. They're trying to evolve fast enough to survive what's coming." Each species they harvest adds to their biological database, their adaptation potential. Commander Volkov's voice cut through her thoughts. "Admiral, we're detecting unusual quantum signatures from the planet's core. Something's still active down there. Deep beneath the planet's surface, in chambers protected by layers of living metal, they found it. A harvester archive, containing the combined biological and technological knowledge of every species they had ever encountered. And within that archive, a message left by the same predecessors who had warned humanity about the harvesters. They knew, Elena whispered as she translated the ancient data. The predecessors knew about the devourers. They tried to unite the galaxy's species to fight them, but the harvesters refused to cooperate. They chose to survive by consuming others instead of standing together. Sarah's mind raced with the implications. Humanity now held the key to both saving and destroying the harvesters. The combined knowledge in the archive could be used to enhance human weapons, finally ending the harvester threat. Or it could be used to forge an alliance against a common enemy that threatened all life in the galaxy. The decision was made harder by fresh reports of harvester atrocities. Even as they retreated, they continued their brutal experiments on captured human colonies. Their instinct to hunt and consume was too deeply ingrained to change easily. "We have a new mission," Sarah announced to her command staff. "We're going to push straight for the harvester homeworld. Not to destroy them, but to force them to face the truth. They can either join us against the real threat, or we'll ensure they aren't around to compromise anyone else's survival." The new campaign was unlike anything in human military history. Instead of destroying harvester worlds, human forces began capturing them intact, using their own biological technology against them. Each victory added to humanity's understanding of both harvester and predecessor technology. Mina's Chimera squadrons evolved into something even more sophisticated. Ships that could reconfigure their entire structure in battle, adapting to any threat in real time. The Prometheus itself was gradually transformed by the integration of captured technology, becoming less a ship and more a living weapon of war. But the harvesters weren't defeated yet. As humanity pushed toward their core worlds, their resistance grew more desperate and creative. They began using suicide tactics, willing to destroy entire star systems to slow the human advance. The war's cost in lives continued to mount. "They're preparing something big," Alexei reported, studying long-range sensor data. "Activity around their homeworld has increased exponentially. Energy readings suggest they're trying to accelerate their own evolution." Sarah stood at her command post, watching the tactical display update with new intelligence. The harvesters were gathering everything they had left for one final stand. But they didn't realize that humanity's goal had changed. This was no longer about revenge or even survival. It was about forcing an evolution of consciousness, not just biology. "All ships, prepare for quantum jump," she ordered. "We're going to show the harvesters that adaptation isn't just about physical evolution. It's about learning to change your entire way of thinking." The combined human fleet, now the most powerful force the galaxy had seen since the predecessors, prepared for its final push. As they made their jump calculations, Sarah couldn't help but wonder, would humanity succeed where the predecessors had failed? Could they force the harvesters to evolve beyond their predatory nature in time to face the greater threat? The answer waited at the harvester homeworld, where the final battle would determine not just the fate of two species, but potentially the survival of all life in the galaxy. The harvester homeworld hung in space like a twisted sculpture of biological architecture, its surface a maze of living cities and organic spacecraft docks. The combined human fleet had arrived at the heart of their enemy's civilization, but Admiral Sarah Chen felt no triumph, only grim determination about what had to be done. "Multiple contacts emerging from the planetary defense systems," Alexei reported. "They're different. These aren't like any harvester ships we've encountered before." The new vessels were monstrous hybrid creatures, clearly the product of desperate genetic engineering. The harvesters had combined DNA from every species they'd ever harvested, creating biological weapons that defied comprehension. But humanity had come prepared. "Deploy the legacy protocol," Sarah ordered. Throughout the human fleet, ships activated the technology they'd recovered from predecessor archives. Quantum fields enveloped each vessel, connecting them in a vast neural network that mirrored the harvester's own biological communication system. For the first time, two species would fight not just with weapons, but with competing visions of survival. Maya's voice echoed through the neural link. Broadcasting now. The message they sent wasn't in words or even mathematical codes. It was pure information. Everything humanity had discovered about the approaching devours, along with the predecessor's original plan for galactic unity. They forced the truth into every harvester communication channel, every genetic memory bank. The response was immediate and violent. The harvester ships attacked with suicidal fury, but their assault was uncoordinated, chaotic. Their leadership was fracturing as the truth spread through their collective consciousness. They're receiving the data, Elena confirmed, monitoring the quantum frequencies. Their biological networks are in chaos. Some are accepting the information. Others are rejecting it violently. The battle that followed wasn't just fought with weapons. Every engagement was simultaneously a physical and information conflict. Human ships transmitted data packets even as they fired quantum torpedoes. Harvester vessels tried to corrupt the transmissions while launching biological weapons. Then something unexpected happened. A new signal emerged from the planet's surface, different from both human and harvester communications. Ancient systems, dormant for millennia, were activating. Predecessor technology, Elena gasped. There's a facility down there. It's older than the harvester civilization itself. They built their capital on top of it without knowing. The facility was a legacy of the last galactic civilization, waiting for the moment when two species would finally bridge the gap between predator and prey. As its systems came online, both human and harvester ships found their weapons suddenly neutralized. In the silence that followed, a new consciousness emerged, a hybrid intelligence born from the interaction of human innovation, harvester biology, and predecessor wisdom. It spoke simultaneously to all minds, organic and synthetic, throughout the system. The cycle of predator and prey must end, it declared. The true enemy approaches, and survival depends on unity, not consumption. On the Prometheus's bridge, Sarah watched as the battle transformed into something else entirely. Harvester ships began transmitting their own biological data, not as weapons, but as offerings. The species that had evolved through consuming others had finally understood. True adaptation meant learning to create rather than destroy. They're asking for integration, Maya reported, wonder in her voice. Not surrender, not alliance. They want to merge their knowledge with ours completely, to evolve together. The process took weeks. Under the guidance of the awakened predecessor systems, humans and harvesters began a technological and biological exchange that would transform both species. The harvester homeworld became a laboratory where the best of both civilizations was preserved and combined. 6 months later, Sarah stood in the newly established Galactic Defense Council chamber, addressing representatives of both species. The chamber itself was a symbol of their transformation, neither purely mechanical nor purely organic, but a harmonious blend of all three technological lineages. The Devourers will reach our galaxy in less than a century, she announced, but they won't find divided prey. They'll find guardians who understand that true strength comes from unity, not predation. We are no longer human or harvester. We are the inheritors of the predecessor's dream, and we will not fail as they did. Beyond the chamber windows, the first ships of the new combined fleet were taking shape. They were beautiful and terrible to behold, living vessels that carried the legacy of three civilizations, crewed by beings who were themselves evolving into something new. The original distress signal that had started everything still echoed in Sarah's memory. It had warned of the harvesters, but it had also been a test, a way for the predecessors to find species capable of breaking the cycle of predator and prey. Humanity had passed that test, not through superior strength or technology, but through the one trait that truly separated them from other species, the ability to see beyond immediate survival to a larger purpose. As the first patrol fleets departed to spread the message of unity to other species in the galaxy, Sarah reflected on how far they'd come. The war that had begun with a distress call had ended with a transformation. Humanity had risen to become not just survivors or conquerors, but guardians of all life in the galaxy. And somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, the devourers approached, unaware that their next meal had become something unprecedented, a galaxy united, evolved, and ready to fight back.